Chapter 13. Abram left Egypt with his wife, and with everything he had, and went to the south of Canaan. And Lot, his nephew, went with him. Abram was very rich. He had cattle, silver, and gold. He went from place to place until he came to the city of Bethel. And from there he went to the place between Bethel and Ai, where he had camped before. Abram arrived at the altar he had built and worshipped God. The Lord, Lot, who went with Abram, also had sheep, goats, cattle, servants, and his family. There was not enough pasture for both of them to stay together, for they had many animals. Therefore the men who took care of Abram's animals quarreled with those who took care of Lot's animals. At that time, the Canaanites and the Perizzites were also living there. One day Abram said to Lot, "We are close relatives, and it is not good for us to keep quarreling, nor for my servants to quarrel with yours. Let us separate. Choose. The land is there. I am before it. If you go to the left, I will go to the right. If you go to the right, I will go to the left." Lot looked around and saw that the Jordan Valley, as far as the city of Zoar, had plenty of water. It was like the garden of the Lord, or like the land of Egypt. The valley was like that before the Lord destroyed the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot chose all the Jordan Valley and went eastward. And so the two separated. Abram stayed in the land of Canaan, and Lot lived in the cities of the valley. Lot camped until he reached Sodom, where wicked people lived who committed horrible sins against the Lord. After Lot had gone, the Lord God said to Abram, "From where you are, look carefully to the north and to the south, to the east and to the west. I will give you and your descendants forever all the land you are seeing. I will make your descendants as numerous as the dust of the earth. Just as no one can count the grains of dust, so your descendants cannot be counted. Now go and walk through this land, from north to south and from east to west, for I will give it to you." So Abram broke camp and went to live near the sacred trees of Mamre in the city of Hebron. And there Abram built an altar to God, the Lord. Chapter the 14th. At that time Amraphel was king of Shinar, Arioch was king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer was king of Elam, and Tidal was king of Goim. These four made war against the following kings: Ara of Sodom, Bersha of Gomorrah, Shinab of Admah, Shimbor of Zeboim, and against the king of Bela, the city also called Zoar. These 5 kings gathered their armies in the valley of Siddim, where the Dead Sea is. King Kedorlaomer had dominated them for 12 years, but in the 13th year they rebelled against him. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and his allies defeated the Rephaim in Asheroth Karneh, the Zuzim in Hamdi-Amim in Shevach-Kiriathim, and the Horites in the mountains of Seir, chasing them as far as El Paran, which is near the desert. Then they returned to Kadesh, which at that time was called En Mishpat. They devastated the land of the Amalekites and defeated the Amorites who lived in Hazazon Tamar. Then the kings of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, Zeboim, and Bela went out with their armies to the valley of Siddim to fight against the kings of Elam, Goim, Shinar, and Eleasar. It was 4 kings against 5. It happened that the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. When they tried to flee from the battle, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fell into those pits, but the other kings fled to the mountains. The 4 kings took all the supplies and valuables from Sodom and Gomorrah and went away. Lot, Abram's nephew, lived in Sodom and was also taken as a prisoner, and they took everything that belonged to him. But a man escaped and went to tell Abram the Hebrew, who lived near the sacred trees belonging to Mamre the Amorite. Mamre and his brothers Eshcol and Aner were Abram's allies. When Abram heard that his nephew had been taken prisoner, he gathered his trained men for war, all born in his house. There were 318 in total. Abram went with them, pursuing the 4 kings up to the city of Dan. There Abram divided his men into 2 groups, attacked the enemies at night, and defeated them. He continued pursuing them as far as Hobah, which is north of the city of Damascus, and brought back everything that the enemies had taken. Abram also brought back his nephew Lot and everything that belonged to him, and also the women and the rest of the people. After having defeated Kedorlaomer and the other kings, Abram was returning home when the king of Sodom came to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, also called the King's Valley, Melchizedek, who was king of Salem, and priest of God Most High, brought bread and wine. Melchizedek blessed Abram, saying, Abram, be blessed by God Most High, who created heaven and earth. Praise be to God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hands. Then Abram gave Melchizedek a tenth of everything he had brought back. After that, the king of Sodom said to Abram, Keep the goods for yourself, and return only the people to me. I lift my hand before the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and I swear that I will not keep anything that is yours, not even a thread or a sandal strap. So you can never say, I made Abram rich. I want nothing for myself except the food that my men have eaten. My allies on Air, Eshcol, and Mamre may keep their share. Chapter 15. After this, Abraham had a vision, and in it the Lord said to him, Abraham, do not be afraid. I will protect you from all danger and will give you a great reward. Lord my God, what good is your reward if I remain childless? Eliezer of Damascus will be the one to inherit all that I have. You have not given me children, so one of my servants, born in my house, will be my heir. Then the Lord spoke again and said, Your own son will be your heir, not your servant Eliezer. The Lord took Abraham outside and said, Look up at the sky and count the stars. If indeed you can count them, so shall your descendants be. Abraham believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. The Lord also said, I am the Lord, who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans, to give you this land to take possession of it. O Lord my God, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abraham brought all these to him, cut them in two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abraham drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, Know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and that they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the 4th generation your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces of the animals. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, and said to your descendants, I give this land. From the Wadi of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephates, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. Chapter 16. Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. But she had an Egyptian slave named Hagar. So she said to Abram, The Lord has kept me from having children. Go, sleep with my slave. Perhaps I can build a family through her. Abram agreed to what Sarai said. So after Abram had been living in Canaan for 10 years, Sarai took her Egyptian slave Hagar and gave her to her husband to be his wife. He slept with Hagar, and she conceived. When she knew she was pregnant, she began to despise her mistress. Then Sarai said to Abram, You are responsible for the wrong I am suffering. I put my slave in your arms, and now that she knows she is pregnant, she despises me. May the Lord judge between you and me. Your slave is in your hands, Abram said. Do with her whatever you think best. Then Sarai mistreated Hagar, so she fled from her. The angel of the Lord found Hagar near a spring in the desert. It was the spring that is beside the road to Shur. And he said, Hagar, slave of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going? I'm running away from my mistress Sarai, she answered. Then the angel of the Lord told her, Go back to your mistress and submit to her. The angel added, I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. The angel of the Lord also said to her, You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. She'll name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him, and he will live in hostility toward all his brothers. She gave this name to the Lord who spoke to her. You are the God who sees me. For she said, I have now seen the one who sees me. That is why the well was called Bir, Lahai, Roi. It is still there, between Kadesh and Bered. So Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son she had born. Abram was 86 years old when Ishmael was born.